I stand frozen in the entryway of my parents' suburban Boulder home, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the gleaming hardwood floor. I've come to pick up my boys after my mother insisted on watching them while I finished a work presentation. But the voices drifting from the kitchen stop me cold. Let Claire's kids eat first. Eli and Noah can have the leftovers. My mother, Linda's voice carries through the house, with the casual cruelty of someone who doesn't expect to be overheard. My sister Claire adds with a soft laugh that turns my stomach. They might as well get used to it. Kids like them don't need much. My heart hammers against my ribs as I take 3 silent steps forward, just enough to see into the dining room. My nephews Ava and Connor sit at the table, plates piled with steaming lasagna. The good plates, the ones Mom brings out for special occasions. My gaze drops to the kitchen floor where my sons, 8-year-old Eli and 6-year-old Noah, sit cross-legged on the tile with paper plates balanced on their laps. Cold sandwiches, not even cut diagonally the way they like. My father Gerald glances up from his recliner, newspaper lowered just enough to see over the top. They need to learn their place in this world. Time seems to freeze. The room compresses around me, oxygen suddenly scarce. I watch my boys, heads bent over their paper plates, shoulders hunched in a posture I recognize now as shame. How many times have they sat like this while I was working? How many times have I missed the signs? My hands begin to tremble, rage building like a physical force in my chest. Boys, I say, my voice barely above a whisper, get your backpacks. 5 heads snap in my direction. My mother's face transforms instantly, her mouth curving into a bright, false smile. Oh, we didn't hear you come in. Claire straightens the silverware beside her plate with precise movements, not quite meeting my eyes. The boys said they preferred sandwiches. The lie hangs between us. Eli looks up at me, his dark eyes so much like Malcolm's holding mine. No words needed. The truth passes between us in that silent exchange, along with something else that breaks my heart. Resignation. Noah pushes himself up from the floor, his small voice tight as he asks, "Can we go home now?" 4 simple words that tell me everything I need to know. This isn't the first time. Gerald waves his hand dismissively, paper rustling. They're fine. Stop being so sensitive. My mind flashes to the checkbook in my purse. Just last month, a $6,800 check for their new roof. The year before that, another $5,000 for Claire's minivan repair. 9 years of writing checks since I landed my first real job at 25. 9 years of Malcolm's gentle warnings. They call you for money, not for dinner. The weight of co-signing their $260,000 mortgage presses down on my shoulders. How many times had I defended them to Malcolm? That's just how they show love. They're old-fashioned. Old-fashioned. The word tastes bitter now. Linda steps toward me, coffee cup extended like an olive branch. You're always in such a rush. Stay for coffee. Claire slides into the conversation with practiced nonchalance. It's not a big deal. Kids don't care about these things. I move past them to gather my son's jackets from the hook by the door, noting how quickly the boys collect their things. The practiced movements, the way Eli helps Noah zip up without being asked. They've done this before, escaping quickly, quietly, without drawing attention. Don't make a scene, Gerald warns, folding his newspaper with deliberate care. You're overreacting. I take a breath, feeling something solid forming in my chest, where uncertainty used to live. We're leaving. We won't be back until you can explain this. Claire watches with narrowed eyes, her sense of entitlement almost tangible in the air between us. Linda's hands flutter anxiously at her throat, panic rising as she realizes she's losing control of the narrative. Gerald's authoritarian stance seems to crumble slightly as I refuse to back down. Eli takes Noah's hand, protective in a way no 8-year-old should need to be of his little brother. As we move toward the door, my gaze catches on the family photos lining the hallway. Years of subtle positioning I'd never noticed before. Claire's family centered in every frame. My family, Malcolm, the boys, me always at the edges, as if we might be cropped out without anyone noticing. The front door closes behind us with a soft click that somehow sounds final. In the golden light of late afternoon, with my son's hands in mine, clarity washes over me like a wave. This isn't new, I whisper, more to myself than to them. I've just been blind. I squeeze their small hands in mine and lead them to the car, away from the house that suddenly feels less like home, and more like the scene of a long, slow crime I've been financing for years. Later that evening, at home, I sat cross-legged on our bed, Laptop balanced on my knees, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. The spreadsheet glows accusingly in the dim light of our bedroom. 9 years of transactions stare back at me, a digital paper trail of my own exploitation. Malcolm appears in the doorway, a steaming mug of chamomile tea in his hands. He says nothing, just places it on my nightstand and watches my face. The slight furrow between his brows tells me he's worried but won't push. Not yet. $141,000, I whisper, the number burning my throat like acid. 9 years of family emergencies and temporary help. Malcolm sits beside me, the mattress dipping slightly under his weight. His silence is a courtesy I don't deserve after years of dismissing his concerns. I open another document, this one created in the 4 hours since we left my parents' house. A list of occasions when my family refused to help us. My emergency gallbladder surgery 3 years ago when Mom claimed they were too busy to watch the boys. Our move to the new house when Dad's back suddenly acted up. Eli's overnight hospital stay for pneumonia when Claire was worried her kids might catch something. My phone buzzes. A text from my mother. "You're being dramatic. Come back tomorrow." Malcolm's hand finds mine, his touch warm against my cold fingers. "Jacqueline," he says softly, "they've never invited us for Christmas morning. Always afternoon." The simple observation crashes through me like a wrecking ball. Every Christmas for 8 years always told to come after presents because morning is our special family time. I'd never questioned why Claire's family was included in that special family time, while we weren't. I scroll through my voicemail history. Gerald's messages follow a pattern. Friendly greetings, quick personal questions, then the inevitable request. "Sweetheart, the property taxes went up again. Just a small bump in our support would help tremendously." Support, as if I owed them a lifetime of financial servitude for raising me. Texts from Claire reveal a pattern I'd willfully ignored for years. References to those boys instead of their names. Constant comments about their appearance. "Noah's hair is getting so ethnic. Have you considered straightening it?" Cancellations when our families were supposed to meet, always with transparent excuses. Then there's Linda, caught between her husband's demands and occasional flashes of conscience. Her messages swing wildly between guilt trips and rare moments of genuine affection, the inconsistency designed to keep me off balance and compliant. But what turns my stomach cold is discovering Gerald's name still listed as the emergency contact at the boys' school, a form I thought I'd updated months ago. Claire's position as PTA secretary suddenly takes on new meaning. She's had access to school forms all along. I close my laptop around midnight, but sleep refuses to come. At 2 a.m, I find myself standing in the doorway of my son's room, watching their peaceful breathing in the glow of Noah's turtle nightlight. "They don't love my children the way they should," I whisper to the darkness. A truth so obvious now that I wonder how I missed it for so long. I move through our home with quiet purpose, taking down framed photos from the hallway wall. In one, taken at Eli's kindergarten graduation, Claire's children stand front and center while mine are partially cut off at the edge. Another from last Thanksgiving shows Noah reaching for a dinner roll while my father's hand blocks him, the gesture captured accidentally but speaking volumes. Malcolm finds me replacing these photos with ones of just our family camping trips, beach vacations, backyard barbecues, where the boys' smiles reach their eyes. "It's time to protect our boys," he says, taking a tarnished silver frame from my hands. "They deserve better." Tears slide down my cheeks, but something has changed. The suffocating guilt that's driven me for years transforms into something harder, something with edges sharp enough to cut through the tangle of obligations I've wrapped around myself. "I've been financing my children's rejection," I say, the words hanging between us like a confession. The next morning, I call Sarah, my best friend since college. "I need to tell you what happened," I begin, my voice steadier than I expected. After I finish, the line goes quiet for so long I check to make sure we're still connected. "I've seen it for years," Sarah finally says. "I didn't know how to tell you." Those simple words, the validation that I'm not crazy, not overreacting, break something loose inside me. Within hours, support materializes from places I hadn't thought to look. Malcolm's parents offering immediate assistance without questions. My coworker Taylor sharing resources about racial bias in families. My boss granting personal days with a knowing look that suggests she understands more than I've ever shared. By evening, I've made the first concrete steps: cancellation of the automatic monthly transfers to my parents, a call to the mortgage company to begin the process of removing my name, instructions to the bank, restricting any new credit extensions under my name, the closing of the family emergency fund account I've maintained for nearly a decade. Each action brings a hollow victory, the satisfaction of reclaiming control undercut by the reality of what necessitated these measures. My body registers the stress in ways my mind can't yet process: tension, headaches that start at the base of my skull, sleeplessness that leaves me staring at the ceiling, anxiety that manifests as a constant tightness in my chest. But beneath the physical discomfort lies something unfamiliar, the solid foundation of a boundary, long overdue and finally taking shape. 2 days later, I stare at my phone as my father's voicemail plays for the third time. His voice booms through the speaker, filling my kitchen with the familiar mix of authority and expectation. "Jacqueline, there's a banking error. The transfer didn't go through. Call me back immediately." No error exists, just my deliberate choice to stop the automatic monthly payment that's drained my account for years. My thumb hovers over the delete button, but instead, I save it. Evidence. The phone vibrates again. My mother. Her fourth call today. I let it ring through to voicemail, already knowing what message awaits. Linda's voice trembles when she speaks, a calculated tremor that once would have sent me rushing to fix whatever problem she claimed to have. "Sweetheart, please call us back. The mortgage payment is due next week. We'll lose the house if you don't help. How could you do this to us?" Malcolm watches me from across the kitchen counter, his expression careful. "You okay?" I take a deep breath, rehearsing the response I've practiced with my therapist. "No error, Dad. Just boundaries." The words taste strange but satisfying, like a food I've avoided for years only to discover I love it. "I'm better than okay," I tell Malcolm, surprising myself with how true it feels. The doorbell rings, and Noah races in from the living room. "I'll get it." "Wait," I call, but he's already turning the lock. The door swings open to reveal Claire standing on our porch, her expression a perfect mask of sisterly concern. My stomach tightens. "Auntie Claire," Noah exclaims, genuine delight in his voice that makes my heart ache. He doesn't understand yet. Claire steps inside without waiting for an invitation. "Jacqueline, we need to talk. This has gone far enough." "Noah, please go finish your homework with Eli," I say, keeping my voice level. He hesitates, sensing the tension, then disappears down the hallway. "You can't just show up at my home unannounced." I tell her once he's gone. "I tried your office first," she replies, as if this proves her point. "Your assistant wouldn't let me in. Taylor had texted me a warning. Your sister's here. I told her you're in meetings all day. Should I call security?" I'd been grateful then. I'm furious now. "You went to my workplace? That's completely inappropriate." Claire waves away my objection. "Family comes first, Jacqueline. You used to understand that." The bitter laugh escapes before I can stop it. "Family comes first? Is that why my sons were eating sandwiches on the kitchen floor while your kids had lasagna at the table?" Her face flushes. "You're still being dramatic about that," Mom explained. "Get out," I say quietly. She blinks, genuinely surprised. "What?" "Get out of my house, now." Malcolm appears beside me, solid and steady. "You heard her, Claire. It's time for you to leave." After she storms out, the house feels suddenly lighter. Malcolm orders pizza for dinner, something we rarely do on weeknights. We eat around the coffee table, watching a movie the boys choose. Eli and Noah laugh more freely than I've heard in months, their shoulders relaxed, their smiles reaching their eyes. Later, after the boys are in bed, Malcolm finds me at the kitchen table, scrolling through dozens of missed calls and messages. Uncle Robert asking why I've abandoned the family. Cousin Jennifer wondering if I'm having a mental health episode. A notification from the community Facebook group, where someone has anonymously questioned my family values. "You know what I noticed tonight?" Malcolm asks, sliding into the chair beside me. I look up from the phone. "What?" "I've never seen you stand this tall," he says simply. The tears come without warning, hot and unexpected. Not sad tears, relieving ones, like a pressure valve finally releasing. "I was never the problem," I whisper, the realization crystallizing. I was the solution they exploited. Malcolm takes my hand. "Start writing it down. All of it." The journal becomes my armor. Every manipulation, every emergency loan, every subtle slight against Malcolm or the boys. 9 years of financial transfers meticulously recorded alongside the corresponding familial obligation. The pattern emerges in black and white. Money flowing out, conditional love trickling back. When Linda requests a meeting at Copperleaf Coffee 2 days later, neutral ground, she calls it, I agree. But I am prepared this time. She arrives precisely 15 minutes late, eyes reddened just enough to draw sympathetic glances from other patrons. Her timing is impeccable, not so late that I might leave, but long enough that my coffee has cooled and my patience has thinned. Sweetheart. She begins, voice lowered to a confidential whisper. You know how certain neighbors talk. We're just keeping things comfortable. My hand slips into my pocket, pressing record on my phone. What exactly do you mean, Mom? Her eyes dart to the table beside us where an elderly couple pretends not to listen. You know exactly what I mean. Your boys are wonderful, but different. We help them navigate that. Different how? I press, my voice steady. Linda leans closer. Sweetheart, you know how certain neighbors talk. We're just keeping things comfortable. You already said that. What do you mean by comfortable? She sighs. It's about appearances, Jackie. We can't help what people think when they see mixed families. I slide the phone onto the table between us, screen illuminated to show the active recording. Say exactly what you mean, Mom. I want it on record. The color drains from her face as her eyes fix on the phone. You're recording me? Your own mother? Yes. Now explain what you meant about my children being different. She stands abruptly, gathering her purse. I won't be ambushed like this. When you're ready to be reasonable, call me. Malcolm takes the boys for ice cream while I meet with the financial advisor. Sarah accompanies me to the bank to remove my name from my parents' accounts. My therapist validates the boundaries I'm establishing, helping me navigate the guilt that still occasionally surfaces. When Claire appears at my office again, my co-workers create a buffer. Taylor intercepts her at the front desk while Diane calls security. James walks me to my car afterward. At school, the counselor meets with Eli and Noah, providing a safe space for them to process their confusion. Your boys are remarkably resilient, she tells me during our follow-up. They understand more than you might think. The invitation to dinner at Malcolm's parents' home comes as a welcome respite. Joyce embraces Eli and Noah as they arrive, her affection natural and unreserved. Thomas leads the boys to his workshop after dinner, patiently showing them how to sand wood for the birdhouse they're building together. I watch from the doorway as Thomas guides Noah's small hands over the sandpaper. Smooth strokes, buddy. There you go. The contrast with my own family strikes me deeply. No conditions, no subtle reminders of difference, just love, expressed through time and attention. Joyce joins me, passing a cup of tea. They're wonderful boys, she says simply. Thomas is so patient with them, I observe. She smiles. That's family for you. Real family. What do you mean? Thomas looks up from his workbench. Family is behavior, not blood, Jackie. Never forget that. The truth of his words settles in my chest. Around these grandparents, my sons laugh without restraint, ask questions without fear, exist without apology. The final meeting with my parents is set for Sunday afternoon. I arrive 20 minutes early, using the spare key they don't know I've kept. The house is quiet as I step inside, but voices drift from the kitchen. I pause in the entryway, listening. Jacqueline always gets so dramatic, Linda sighs. The boys are sweet, but they'll have a hard time in life. Better they learn early. At least she always comes back with money, Claire responds, her voice matter of fact. She's our safety net. My father's reply freezes my blood. The mixed ones will always be a little different. It's just reality. My fingers find my phone automatically, opening the recording app as I step into view. 3 heads turn toward me, expressions shifting from surprise to calculated welcome. I press record and hold up the phone where they can all see it. Tell me more about the mixed ones, Dad. I'm listening. I stand in the doorway of my parents' living room, phone clutched in my palm. Gerald, Linda, and Claire freeze like deer caught in headlights. I heard everything, and I recorded it. I repeat. My voice comes out steadier than I feel. Gerald recovers first, his face morphing from shock to dismissal. You misunderstood what we were saying, Jackie. We were talking about how society treats children like yours, not how we feel. No misunderstanding necessary. I step forward, placing my leather portfolio on the coffee table. I heard exactly what you meant about my mixed children. Claire's eyes widen, her hand flying to her throat. That's not fair. You're twisting our words. I unzip the portfolio, removing a stack of neatly printed spreadsheets. 9 years of financial transactions laid bare in black and white. I slide them across the polished walnut surface, watching their eyes track the movement. $141,000. I tap the bottom figure circled in red. That's what I've given this family since I was 25, not including co-signing your mortgage. Gerald barely glances at the papers. Family helps family. That's how it works. This isn't help, it's parasitism. The word hangs between us, sharp and undeniable. Linda flinches as if I'd slapped her. I pull a typed statement from the back of my portfolio. I've prepared this for clarity. I'm ending all financial support permanently. The automatic transfers have already been stopped. I've contacted the mortgage company about removing my name, though that will take longer. Gerald's face flushes dark red. You can't just walk away from family obligations. Watch me. Claire's face crumples, tears spilling down her cheeks with practiced precision. We never meant it that way. You're twisting our words. I've seen this performance before, the quivering lip, the catch in her voice. It worked on teachers, boyfriends, and me for decades. Not today. Linda clutches her chest, her voice dropping to a whisper. Your father's blood pressure can't take this stress. Is that what you want? To put him in the hospital? You should have thought about his health before you decided my children deserve to eat scraps on the kitchen floor. Gerald's voice hardens. I wonder what Malcolm's boss would think about these family concerns. Mental stability affects job performance, you know. The threat lands like a punch. Malcolm's position at the university is everything to him. Claire pounces on my hesitation. It might be worth a call to child services. Family instability raises red flags. Linda nods solemnly. Pastor Williams was just asking about your family last Sunday. The church community notices when people stop attending together. Their coordinated attack nearly knocks me off balance. For a moment, I'm 8 years old again, caught between Claire's accusations and my parents' united front of disapproval. The front door opens. Malcolm's footsteps echo in the hallway. He appears beside me, tall and solid. Without a word, he places his phone on the table and presses play. Gerald's voice fills the room. The mixed ones will always be a little different. It's just reality. Claire gasps. You were both recording us? Threats won't change our decision, I say quietly. Malcolm speaks for the first time, his voice calm but firm. Our children won't be exposed to this again. I gather the spreadsheets, tucking them back into my portfolio. No money, no contact, no exceptions. Gerald rises from his chair, pointing a finger at Malcolm. You're behind this. You've turned her against her own family. Malcolm doesn't flinch. Jacqueline makes her own decisions. Always has. The realization spreads across my father's face slowly. His typical tactics, divide and manipulate, won't work this time. We're united. Linda reaches for my hand. I step back. We're done here, I say, zipping the portfolio closed with finality. 2 months later, Sarah calls with news from her cousin who attends my parents' church. They missed their mortgage payment. The bank sent notices. I feel nothing but a dull ache where guilt used to live. The following week, Claire's husband Tom calls Malcolm. They're repossessing Claire's car. She's been calling everyone for loans. Malcolm tells me over dinner, watching my reaction carefully. How do you feel about it? He asks. Like I can finally breathe. 3 weeks after that, we hear Gerald tried leveraging community sympathy at their church's potluck. His story backfired when he mentioned my ungrateful abandonment to Pastor Williams, who asked pointed questions about why I'd withdrawn support. A month later, Tom leaves Claire after discovering credit card debt hidden in his name. Their suburban facade crumbles quickly without my financial foundation. I watch it all from a distance that grows more comfortable each day. My therapist notices first. Your shoulders aren't up around your ears anymore, she says during our weekly session. That night, Malcolm slides into bed beside me, his hand finding mine in the darkness. You smile more. You sleep through the night. Do I? Haven't heard you grinding your teeth in weeks. Eli's questions about his grandparents grow less frequent. His nighttime anxiety attacks, which I'd never connected to family visits, subside. Noah's artwork transforms gradually. The dark scribbles that concerned his teacher brighten. Stick figures hold hands, smiling with oversized grins. At work, I find myself speaking up in meetings without rehearsing every word in my head. My boss notices. Your presentation to the executive team was exceptional. We're considering you for the senior management position. AGT. A position I'd never pursued because weekend family emergencies consumed the extra hours needed for career advancement. On a Tuesday evening in June, Malcolm spreads brochures across our kitchen table after the boys are asleep. "What's this?" I ask. "Summer vacation options. Just the four of us." I pause, waiting for the familiar knot of anxiety. How will my parents react if we don't visit them? What excuse will placate Claire? The knot doesn't form. Instead, a strange lightness fills my chest as I look at pictures of beaches, mountains, and lakes. "The boys would love that waterfall hike," I say, pointing to a glossy photo. Malcolm's smile spreads slowly. "4 tickets then. No extended family discount needed." I lean against his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. "Just us." "Just us," he echoes, his arms circling my waist. The weight I've carried for decades continues to lighten, one obligation at a time. I slam the phone down harder than intended, my hand trembling. 5 months since I cut financial ties with my parents, and the calls keep coming. This time, Linda's voice had that rehearsed quiver, the one she uses when aiming straight for my guilt. "We can't survive without help, Jackie. We've had to sell the house." The image of their sprawling suburban home, the one I co-signed for, flashes in my mind, now replaced by a 2-bedroom apartment across town, according to Mom. Part of me feels a twisted satisfaction. The larger part feels the familiar weight of responsibility pressing down. Malcolm slides a cup of tea beside my laptop without comment. His eyes ask the question he doesn't voice. "They've moved to an apartment," I say, wrapping my fingers around the warm mug. "Mom says they're barely making ends meet." He nods once, face neutral. "We've played this scene before." My phone buzzes with a text. "Claire, you've gotten what you wanted. Happy now?" Mom cried all night. "They had to sell Dad's coin collection to make rent. So vindictive." The word burns. Vindictive. As if boundaries equal revenge. "There's a family gathering Sunday." I tell Malcolm, scrolling through Claire's follow-up texts. "Aunt Patty is hosting. Apparently, I'm the main topic of conversation these days." "Are we going?" Malcolm asks, his tone carefully even. I shake my head. "Not a chance. But Claire made sure I know they're taking up a collection at church for Mom and Dad's medical needs." The air quotes feel childish, but necessary. Dad's blood pressure has become their favorite leverage point. Malcolm sits beside me at the kitchen table, his presence solid. "Your father called me yesterday." My head snaps up. "What? Why didn't you say anything?" "Wanted to see how it played out." He stretches his long legs under the table. He implied he might contest the mortgage removal. Said something about legal options and family obligations. Ice forms in my stomach. Can he do that? No, but he thinks the threat will work. The doorbell rings, startling us both. Through the front window, I spot Claire's silver SUV in our driveway. "What now?" "I'll get it," Malcolm says, squeezing my shoulder as he passes. I hear their voices in the entryway, Claire's high and tight, Malcolm's low and controlled. Then her heels clicking on the hardwood as she follows him into the kitchen. "We need to talk," she announces, not bothering with hello. She looks thinner, the designer purse on her arm less new than her usual. Financial reality has begun to bite. "Then talk," I say, not offering her a seat. Her eyes narrow. "This has gone far enough, Jackie. Dad's doctor says his health is declining from stress. Mom can barely sleep." "I'm sorry to hear that." "No, you're not." Claire tosses her hair back. "You're punishing them because you can't handle the truth." "Which is?" She leans forward, voice dropping. "That when those boys grow up, they'll face a world that sees them differently. We were preparing them." My fingers curl into fists under the table. "By feeding them on the floor while your kids got the good china?" "That was one time." "It wasn't." The certainty in my voice stops her. And we both know it. Claire straightens, switching tactics. "Mom says you're killing Dad with stress. Is that what you want? And when your boys are older, I'll make sure they know exactly why their grandfather died." The threat hangs between us. I feel Malcolm stiffen beside me, but he stays silent, letting me handle my sister. "Anything else?" I ask. Her eyes flick between us, searching for cracks. Finding none, she grabs her purse. "The whole family knows what you're doing. Everyone at church, even the neighbors. They all see you for what you are." After she leaves, the pressure to give in just this once, just a little money to help them through, nearly overwhelms me. The familiar role of fixer beckons like an old addiction. Malcolm's hand covers mine. They survived before you. They'll survive now. I nod, though the words feel hollow against 20 years of conditioning. That night, Eli crawls into bed between us during a thunderstorm, his small body curled against my side. After the thunder subsides, he remains awake, thoughtful in the way that always makes him seem older than 8. "Mom," he whispers, "is it because Dad's black?" The question knocks the air from my lungs. In the dim glow of the nightlight, I see Malcolm freeze on the other side of the bed, eyes open but unreadable. "Why do you ask that, honey?" I manage. Eli picks at a loose thread on the comforter. "Grandpa told Connor that kids like me and Noah have to work twice as hard because of our dad." Truth hovers on my tongue, battling with protection. I look across at Malcolm, whose pain is visible even in the shadows. "Yes, honey," I finally say. "Some people have small minds, even people who are supposed to love you." Malcolm's hand finds mine across our son's body. "Even Grandma and Grandpa?" Eli's voice is small. "Even them," I confirm. "But it's their problem, not yours, and it's why we don't visit anymore." Later, after Eli falls asleep, Malcolm and I sit at the kitchen table, speaking in low voices. He tells me about the comments over the years, subtle digs, jokes that weren't really jokes, the way my father would introduce him as Jacqueline's husband, rather than by name. "I didn't tell you everything," he admits. "You already felt caught in the middle." The revelation cements something in me, a certainty that had been forming for months. We're doing the right thing. 6 months after the initial confrontation, Malcolm comes home with unexpected news. "Your father called, wants to meet for coffee." His expression is cautious. "Just me." The meeting happens at a neutral coffee shop downtown. I spend the hour pacing our kitchen, jumping when the door finally opens. Malcolm's face gives nothing away as he sets his keys on the counter. "Your father apologized." I blink, certain I've misheard. For what specifically? For how he treated me. The boys. He shakes his head, looking dazed. Said he's been doing a lot of thinking since they downsized. Realized some things about himself he's not proud of. The next day, Linda calls, her voice lacking the usual manipulation. "We'd like to try family counseling. All of us. We were wrong, Jackie. We want to rebuild, not for money, for family." The familiar skepticism rises. "The money isn't coming back," I say firmly. "Love my children or stay away. Those are the only terms." "I understand," she says, and for once, I think she might. In the months that follow, my journal of incidents becomes a healing tool in our family counseling sessions. The financial records showing the exploitation pattern remain in a folder on my desk protection, not ammunition. The recordings documenting their racism stay on my phone, unplayed but preserved. Gerald joins a local unconscious bias group, his participation shocking everyone, including himself. Linda cries during our 3rd session, a raw, ugly crying I've never seen from my always composed mother. "I was raised with these beliefs," she admits. "I want to be better." Claire's progress comes more slowly. She attends the sessions but speaks little, her defense is higher. Yet by the 3rd month, even she begins to acknowledge the harm done. We meet for dinner at a moderately priced restaurant to mark 3 months of counseling. For the first time in my adult life, everyone pays their own bill. No subtle looks in my direction when the check arrives. No convenient trips to the restroom as the server approaches. Watching my father explain the rules of baseball to Noah across the table, I realize the power dynamics have permanently altered. Not through revenge, as Claire once accused, but through truth, through boundaries that should have been established years ago. As we leave, Linda touches my arm. "Thank you for giving us another chance." I nod, not quite ready to forgive completely, but acknowledging the journey. "It's not for me," I tell her, watching my sons walk ahead with their grandfather. "It's for them. They deserve grandparents who see them, all of them." She follows my gaze, something new in her eyes, something that looks remarkably like understanding. I lean back in my chair at Riverside Grill, a modest restaurant with warm lighting and the faint scent of rosemary in the air. 1 year has passed since that day in my parents' kitchen, the day everything changed. Now, my gaze travels across the table where Gerald listens with genuine interest as Eli describes his latest art project. "So then, I mixed the blue and yellow," Eli explains, his hands moving animatedly. And my teacher said my trees looked just like the real ones outside our window. Gerald nods, his eyes crinkling at the corners. That's talent, buddy. Maybe you could show me how to paint trees sometime? The question holds no hidden agenda, no conditional approval, just a grandfather who wants to share his grandson's passion. Beside them, Linda leans toward Noah, peppering him with questions about his baseball season. And you caught that fly ball? Right at the fence? Noah beams, spine straight with pride instead of tension. Coach says I have a good eye for tracking the ball. At the kids' table nearby, Claire's children and my boys trade jokes and French fries with easy camaraderie. No hierarchy, no subtle positioning, just cousins enjoying each other's company. The setting mirrors that first dinner almost exactly, family gathered around food, yet everything has changed. Noah shares his science project award without searching our faces for validation. Eli tells stories without that nervous glance I used to know so well, checking if anyone was really listening. Gerald turns to Malcolm. How's that new project coming along? The Sustainable Housing Initiative? Malcolm explains, and Gerald asks follow-up questions that show he's been paying attention all these months. Linda divides her attention equally between all 4 grandchildren, helping Connor with his napkin one moment and praising Noah's drawing the next. Claire catches my eye across the table. The entitlement that once shadowed her features has softened into something resembling gratitude. She's working now, her first full-time job in years, and the accomplishment sits well on her shoulders. When the check arrives, everyone reaches for their wallets without discussion. No more financial imbalance, no more unspoken obligations. I've got mine, Claire says, sliding her card into the folder. The waiter brings separate checks without being asked. We've been here often enough now that he knows our routine. Later, as we gather our things, Malcolm leans close. You stand taller now, he whispers, his breath warm against my ear. I squeeze his hand. I finally know my worth. Outside in the parking lot, Linda pulls me aside while the others help the children into their jackets. Losing your support was the best thing that happened to us, she says, her voice steady with hard-won wisdom. It forced us to see what mattered. I nod, knowing our monthly family therapy sessions continue to unearth surprising growth, especially from Gerald. His work on confronting his prejudice runs deeper than any of us expected. Linda and Malcolm's mother meet regularly for coffee now, sharing grandchildren's stories and recipes. Even Claire makes steady progress, though slower than the others. The drive home is peaceful. In the rearview mirror, Eli whispers something that makes Noah collapse into giggles in his booster seat. Malcolm's hand finds mine across the console, his touch familiar and grounding. The best investment I ever made. I say softly, watching my boys in the mirror, was teaching my boys that respect can't be bought and love doesn't come with conditions. Malcolm's fingers tighten around mine as I drive toward home, toward the life we've built on truth rather than compromise. In the back seat, my sons laugh freely, unburdened by expectations they never should have carried. And in that simple sound, I hear our victory.